Hey fight fans, welcome back to another episode of Pure Evil MMA. I'm your host, as always, Evil Eddie from MyMMAnews.com. There's a lot going on this week with UFC 222 in sight just in front of us, and I'm going to be giving you guys the preview, the rundown for all of that going on this Saturday on pay-per-view. Is it worth the $60? I think so. There's a lot more than just this headliner of Cris Cyborg, which originally was supposed to be headlined, let's not forget, by Frankie Edgar and Max Holloway. That was supposed to be the headliner. There's a lot of people out there that were pretty upset. Like, why am I going to pay $60 to see Cris Cyborg go in there and just demolish this girl that I have no idea who she is? Why is she worth $65 to be exact if you're watching in HD 2018? Hopefully you are. But guys, there's a lot more than just that going on in this card, so we're going to be talking about all of that. Not many people were really discussing it because it's really been week after week of these wave cards coming in that build up this UFC 222, and really not much promotion going into it. So we have that and a lot more to discuss on this week's episode of Pure Evil MMA. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. Also on Instagram at Pure Evil MMA. And a big shout out this week for our members of the week later on today's episode. Also some UFC Pickem Winners. We're going to be discussing really quickly UFC Orlando. And also I want to give a huge shout out to you guys because on teespring.com/pureevilmerch we are doing campaign for teespring.com where you can get your hands on the latest Pure Evil MMA merchandise, whether it's cups, mugs, tees, girls tees, sweaters, hoodies. You guys have been sending me pictures of it, so I want to thank you guys so much. Look at that, t-shirts, we got mugs. Start your day off right with a Pure Evil MMA mug from teespring.com/pureevilmerch. I love that. There's nothing more that inspires me to do this show than seeing you guys react on Twitter and other social media platforms supporting Pure Evil MMA. So thank you guys so much. It really does mean a lot. So that does it. Let's get into today's show. We have so much to discuss, like I keep saying. Ronda Rousey in WWE. Why are there so many people talking about it? Also, Jon Bones Jones in the news this week, once again, in court. Well, it kind of seemed like he was sitting in a principal's office, but there's that to discuss. Are we going to be able to see Jon Bones Jones fight this year? We'll be talking about that in just a little bit. Dana White sided with Brock Lesnar. So even if we don't get Jon Bones Jones in there, is Brock Lesnar going to return? Or is this a setup for the WWE once again? Because, well, we'll be talking about that in just a little bit. Let's jump into today's show. We have some fight announcements also on deck. And then, like I said, UFC Pickem Winners. Thanks for tuning into Pure Evil MMA. Let's do it. All right, so to start today's podcast off, really quickly, I just want to recap UFC Orlando. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but very quickly, let me give a huge shout out and a round of applause to our guest from a couple of weeks ago, Max Payne Griffin, who won last weekend against Mike Perry. Now, there were so many people out there that really counted Max Griffin out. A lot of people really thought that this was a tune-up fight for Mike Perry to get back on track. Well, Max Payne Griffin stepped up, realized that this is his time. This is one of the most important fights of his career. And if you look back at Max Payne's story of this, which is what I found the most interesting about the entire thing, was these two were just broing out at the Snoop Dogg concert for a UFC retreat, and they hunted down Sean Shelby and were like, we need to fight. I thought that was so cool. If you guys want to check out the interview, it's down below here on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and also here on YouTube. So if you want to check that out, you can do that below. And like I said, subscribe, because we do interviews every week now. There's people out there saying that Mike Perry, he's all done, he's washed up now, there was nothing to really get excited about. I disagree 100% there, because Mike Perry, man, every time he steps up, you know, he's like Artem Lobov. Like, why do so many people love Artem Lobov? It's not because he's 19-19 with a record. It's not because he's friends with Conor. Has a little bit to do with it. But mostly they know that when he is scheduled to fight, he's going to show up to the octagon ready to throw down and put on a performance which he's going to look for a finish. He's not looking to go the distance. At the same time, Mike Perry at any moment in the fight could finish any opponent in front of him. Now, the real question behind it all, because if we rewind a couple of months ago, we were really excited to see Darren Till versus Mike Perry. So that's my question to our listeners here. Are you still interested in that fight? I know that even though Mike Perry lost, are you still interested in seeing him fight Darren Till? Or is that off the table? Should Darren Till still be able to fight a top contender that's ranked, considering he just beat Cowboy? So let me know on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. Also on this card that I really want to talk about really quickly is Jessica Andrade. Now, if you guys watched the preview show or tuned in for the preview show, you heard what I had to say about this. I mean, if she was the same girl that was going to show up to fight Tisha Torres, like she showed up to fight Claudia, then she should hands down win this fight. No ifs, ands, or buts. But it was a very close fight the entire way through. Every round, even though it was 30, every judge scored 10, 10, 10 all down the line. For Andrade, it was still very close. No brownie points lost for Tisha Torres on this one. However, Andrade lined up for a title shot is still kind of iffy to me because she was just picked apart by Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Now, this is considering if Joanna beats Rose Namajunas, so I really shouldn't get too far ahead of myself there with that one. We still have a little while to figure that one out with Rose Namajunas versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk in the rematch, but still, if Joanna does beat Rose, takes the title back, I'm not that interested in seeing Andrade fight her again. But if Rose defends the title, I'm loving that fight. I'm loving Andrade. Rose versus Andrade would be an amazing fight. Also, Latifi beating OSP coming out of the woodwork here. I mean, ever since that loss to Bader, he's been trying to get back on track and win over OSP, who has been on a roll. I mean, going into that fight, he was on a couple fight winning streak with the Von Flue choke. Latifi, man, he is definitely a threat in that division, but it was not a good idea to be calling out DC. I don't know where that came from. But then again, you have people like Nate Diaz, which nobody was thinking about Nate Diaz at the time when Conor was scheduled to fight RDA. But then RDA gets injured, and we all know what happens and how that story unravels. But it all started from a fight, post-fight interview that nobody saw coming. Nobody could have predicted that at all. Nobody. So he's just really putting his name out there. And you got to remember, DC is also tied up at the time. But a great win for Latifi. What would you guys like to see him do next? Alan Jouban, let me give him a quick shout out, getting the win. Back on track, hopefully, for Alan Jouban. I mean, he really is a top contender. He belongs in the top 15, top 10. But through time, hopefully he'll be able to get the top 5. But I don't think he's ready for it just yet. But an amazing performance by him. Definitely worth $50K. All right, so let me know what you guys think about this card. I'm going to rate it an 8 out of 10 for a fight night card on Fox, which did average, had a really good showing out for Fox. It averaged 2.037 million viewers on Fox, which is a huge thing, and which is why I was telling Max Griffin, that is the most important time, is your post-fight presser to, really accomplish a good base. And him being able to go on Fox's version of an embedded was huge for him. So big turnout for UFC on Fox. I love seeing stuff like that. And that's a really big turnout. So one more thing before we get into UFC Pickem Winners. And this has kind of a little bit to do with UFC Orlando. Mike Perry, we were just talking about how he lost. Well, Colby Covington chimes in with something to say. And it wasn't pretty. Colby Covington calling Mike Perry's girlfriend a ratchet face. Or horse face ratchet something. Like it was getting pretty debatable of crossing the line. And for me, that is crossing the line. I mean, to talk about somebody's girlfriend is not playing around. It's getting me angry, but at the same time, it's working, right? It's getting me angry. It's getting a lot of people angry. It's one thing going into a country and pissing off an entire country, pissing off people's girlfriends. I mean, people want to see Colby Covington demolished, right? It's working. It is working. There are lines that you shouldn't cross. And I, for one, would never be the guy to cross that boundary. You can definitely do it without having to do that. And Colby Covington, message to you, man. You don't have to be doing stuff like that to work your way up to the title shot. I mean, you did beat Damian Maia. You are pissing people off, but why call his girlfriend out? I mean, that's pretty low on your part, man. Like, that's kind of bullying. I mean, she can't do anything about it. You're bullying a girl. That's definitely, like, she definitely heard it. It's going to have an effect on her. And this is why I'm pissed off. This is definitely why a lot of people are pissed off, obviously. That's like woman abuse. That really is like woman abuse. You're a bully for saying that. And I've interviewed Colby Covington before in the past. I get the gimmick that he's doing, but there are lines that you don't cross, and he's definitely crossed one. But it's working, and that's really all that matters. But the same time, he's moving forward, but that girl's life is still affected by that. If you read the comments on social media, and hopefully she doesn't, but there's no way she didn't hear about this, and that pisses me off. Well, what do you guys think about this? Let me know on Twitter. Does it push your buttons? Is Colby Covington, doing the right thing here? Should he not be crossing this line? Am I just looking too deep into it? Am I feeling too much? Or am I saying what everybody is thinking? Hopefully I am, because that, to me, that is bullying. That is bullying. That's cyberbullying. I don't stand behind cyberbullies. I'm sorry. You don't go there. You don't go there. All right, moving forward, let's get into our UFC Pickem Winners. Minion is standing by.
Since 1993, MMA fighters from all over the world have gone into battle, shedding blood, sweat and tears to prove that they are worthy of holding the title of champion. At every UFC event, as the fighters throw down in the octagon for our entertainment, each hoping to validate that they are the best by someday having a UFC belt strapped around their waist. A second competition rages amongst the Pure Evil army for the right to lay claim to the prestigious Crystal Skull belt, for ultimate Pickem bragging rights over their evil brothers and sisters in arms. And this week, after climbing their way to the top of the Pure Evil ranks, the prominent honours of the Crystal Skull are awarded to...
Thank you, Minion. This week, first place, Andreas with 2,500 points. In second, Barry 413. In third, Cinder X4. In fourth, UFC Previews. In fifth, Nismo 458. In sixth, 007. And in seventh, True Q Mental. Thank you guys so much for playing our UFC Pick'em for Pure Evil MMA. Congratulations, Andreas, for being number one this week. And we are actually going to be doing wristbands, guys. I'm going to be ordering Pure Evil MMA wristbands to mail out to the winners. And if you collect 10, you will win a UFC or a Pure Evil MMA tee. So keep that in mind. Thank you so much for playing, and good luck this week, guys, for UFC 222. Congratulations, Andreas, and good luck to everybody at the Pure Evil MMA UFC Pick'em Week. All right, guys, so one of the biggest headlines coming out in MMA this week is Jon Bones Jones having his hearing in front of the California State Athletic Commission for his failed UFC 214 drug test. Now, I ran a poll on Twitter asking all of my followers what you thought about all of this. I mean, how many times can we give Jon Bones Jones a chance? And for anybody out there that is not that familiar with Jon Bones Jones, let's take a look. Let's rewind for just one quick second. Going through it, Jon Bones Jones through the years has been in trouble for numerous things down the line, between getting pulled over for drag racing. Just recently, he's been in trouble for hit and run over a pregnant woman. He's been in trouble for numerous things over the years. This is like the 6th or 7th time that we've been going through the same motions with Jon Bones Jones, where he's been stripped like 3 times. He's had the belt 3 separate occasions. Correct me if I'm wrong. But through the years, like, I've had the chance to be able to watch him grow. I remember watching him versus Rampage Jackson, and that was the moment where I was like, holy shit, like, this guy really is next level. I mean, Rampage Jackson in that fight just had no answer for those leg kicks. And I remember at that moment, I was like, this young guy, and even in Rampage, I remember his speech afterwards. He was like, this is the real deal. And we saw that. I mean, Jon Bones Jones as the champion, defending the title, beating the legends that he beat along the way, and the story that he's had built up leading to UFC 214 against his rival DC Daniel Cormier, who in sight of going by the book should have won this fight, which makes this unfortunate. I mean, this was supposed to be Jon Bones Jones' comeback fight for UFC 214. I mean, they were originally supposed to do it, and DC got injured, and Jon Bones Jones ended up fighting OSP. I think it was like UFC 203 or 4 or something like that. Finally, they're able to run it back for 214, and Jon Bones Jones get the win with the head kick, as we all know, then gets busted for a turnbuckle. And we're all like, what the hell? Like, really? Again? Like, tricks on us. Tricks on us once again. And I think at that moment, a lot of people signed off, just, they don't care anymore. I think a lot of fight fans tried defending him numerous times, and how many times can you do that? I mean, this could be an actual case of Boy Who Cried Wolf. I mean, all those times where he actually was wrong and paid the ultimate price for it. And here he was, UFC 214. Whether it felt sincere, whether it felt genuine or not in his post-fight speech there, because it kind of seemed a little corny to me. Like, he did get the win, but I don't know, there just seemed like something off about it. Like, it didn't mean as much as I thought it should have meant to him in that moment, as if he might have been worried about getting popped. I don't know. I'm just saying. I was so happy for Jon Bones Jones. You can go back on my Twitter and look. You can go back at the reaction video and look. I mean, you can even go back to UFC 200 when he popped then. UFC 200 was supposed to be the biggest pay-per-view in UFC history, and Jon Bones Jones, credit to him, blew it for millions of people. Whether they bought their tickets ahead of time, I'm looking forward to this, whether they're DC fans or Jon Bones Jones fans or not. Jon Bones Jones blew it a day beforehand, and me and Ted Check were live doing our show when that actually happened. And I thought it was a joke because the night before, someone on Twitter who's infamous for doing stuff like that, I won't name names. If you're on Twitter, you probably know who I'm talking about. It starts with an I. And I was like, there's no way. You're looking at something old. There's no way that's true. Lo and behold, it's true. So the surprise factor isn't there anymore for me with Jon Bones Jones. So, and I think that has to do with a lot of fight fans out there. After UFC 214, once that came out, it was the moment where a lot of fans most likely should have, if not then, way before then, signed off and said, I don't believe this kid. I'm not on board. He's not trustworthy. He's not the champion that you should have that's going to be stable. And he's proven that time and time again that he's going to mess things up for your company as a champion. Bringing good headlines and bringing bad headlines. Thing is, UFC really needs their champions. UFC really needs their stars. So is it time to wave goodbye to Jon Bones Jones? So I asked you guys on Twitter, and surprisingly, 31% of you guys out there, and over 100 people voted, almost 200 people voted on this poll that I put up last time I checked. 31% of you guys out there still think Jon Bones Jones is innocent. And let me put this out there. He very well could be. This could be an actual case of boy who cried wolf. All those times he was wrong. Maybe this time he did get it. Maybe he had a revelation where, people have their God moments, their come to God moment. And I was hoping that's what happened at UFC 214 leading up to it. Like, there was no way he was going to be able to screw it up again. Right? How many people were thinking like this? There is no way Jon Bones Jones can possibly screw this up for himself once again. There's no way. And we were wrong again. And you just feel so stupid after defending him how many times? How many times can you defend him? Well, here he has his chance, and he goes up in front of the commission, and he just seems lost. He's like, I need you guys to ask me the questions. Like, he didn't have anything prepared. I mean, call it what it is, what you think it is. But to me, is he taking it seriously enough? Like, to me, it doesn't seem like he's taking it that serious. This is a big deal, man. Like, you can get a 4-year suspension. Now, there was this hearing in front of the California State Commission, Athletic Commission. And then he has his hearing for USADA, his punishment for USADA. Now, this one really felt like he was sitting in like the principal's office or something. I don't know. I think it could have went better than what happened. And you guys can go watch it. It's up all over YouTube. It's up all over Twitter. And you can tell me what you think of it. It seemed like he was taking it very lightly. Let's just say that. Now, Jon Bones Jones was fined $205,000 and has his license revoked by the California State Commission for the failed test at UFC 214. So did it go well for Jon? Is that the outcome that a lot of you guys thought was going to happen, or did you think it was going to be worse? Because there are people, like, I'm looking at other MMA media guys that are saying it's real bad. This is a real bad thing. There's other guys saying, I think it's actually pretty good. I was expecting worse. To me, I think this is fair. I think that's a fair one. He's going to be able to reapply in a couple of months here, because let's not forget, the punishment starts from when he was busted, which was July, I believe. May, June, July or August. So I believe he'll be able to reapply in August, Now, doesn't mean he's going to get passed, and you can do your own research. I really recommend you guys go out there and do your own research on all of this so you can get an idea of whether you really do think he's innocent or not, whether he deserves it. This is a big hit for our sport, in my opinion. Me, for one, I want to see Jon Bones Jones return. I mean, I think it was UFC 198 when he fought OSP, and he was originally supposed to fight DC, and then UFC 200 was supposed to fight DC. There is still this building interest for that trilogy fight if he can get by all of this. But right now, DC is living the life that Jon Bones Jones really should be living, fighting Stipe Miocic doing this season. I would love to have seen Jon Bones Jones versus Stipe and him coach another season of Ultimate Fighter. Now, let's go back to the season that Jon Bones Jones did coach. The reason why he did that is because he was injured at the time, because he almost had his arm snapped in half by Vitor. This would have been a perfect time for him to get things together, and this all could have been perfect. Instead, he's sitting in a courtroom somewhere being talked to like he's 16 years old in high school again. And it's just so unfortunate to see. And especially where our sport is, where I would love to be looking forward to a Jon Bones Jones fight this weekend. You got DC in there fighting people like Volkan Oezdemir, who's no hit on Volkan, man, but Jon Bones Jones, where are you? What are you doing? What are you doing? That's all I'm going to say about that. And I want to know what you guys think about this. Is he innocent? Let me know on Twitter, evil_echo. Was that a fair punishment? Let me know. This is just getting old. The story is just republished over and over and over again. And I said this on Twitter. I was like, fast forward a couple of months now. I mean, hold on. Look, before I even say that, let's not forget how perfect the moment was when he beat DC and got on the mic and did it the way a champion, a true promoter of the sport should do it. Gets on the mic and goes, hey, Brock Lesnar, if you want to know what it feels like to get your ass kicked by somebody that's 20, 30 pounds lighter than you, 100 pounds lighter than you, then bring it. Drops the mic, walks away. And then we're all online tweeting away, talking about it, getting pumped up, ready for our sport to the gears to get going again, right? Looking forward to see what Conor's going to be doing. What Jon Jones is going to be preparing for Brock Lesnar. Is that real? Is that really going to happen? Stipe fighting Francis at the time, looking forward. I mean, things were really exciting. And then all this happens. Now, depending on what happens with USADA, if all goes well, I would not be surprised if you fast forward and after the Brock Lesnar versus Jon Bones Jones fight, if it does happen, if all goes as planned, Jon's busted again. That's just how things go. But for this time, and I'll say this, and this is the last time I will, I believe Jon Bones Jones is innocent this time around. I believe in Jon this time. And I've said this numerous times in the past where I've backed him up. But I actually do believe that he's innocent on this one. Let me know what you guys think on Twitter at evil_echo. It's EVIL_ECCO. Kind of segueing into this next topic here. Brock Lesnar in a photo with Dana White. Now, this doesn't mean much. I mean, take it for what it is. It's just a photo on Instagram, but really, it gets the mind going and it gets people excited. And that's what this tactic is used for by the genius Dana White. Now, this could mean that Brock Lesnar is possibly returning to fight in the octagon. Against who? I don't know, because right now we got DC fighting Stipe. So that's off the table. But you also have Cain Velasquez kind of talking about WWE. And now we're going to talk about Ronda in just a second. But WWE has been making a lot of their headlines mixing in with UFC lately. And to me, as annoying as it is, like, I don't really want WWE news. It's cool, and if it was anyone else but Ronda, if it was anyone else but Brock, I really wouldn't care. But since it is Brock Lesnar, I'm interested. And when Dana White's there, it most likely means that they're heading towards Brock Lesnar fighting somebody. Who? I don't know. Maybe Curtis Blades. That would be a pretty cool fight. That would be an awesome fight. I don't know. But on the other hand, Dana White, you got to remember, is also struggling with Fox to try to make a deal. He needs something to say, hey, look, we got Brock Lesnar here. In a couple of months, we're planning on getting him into a fight. It could be just complete bullshit. But because he has this picture, he can say that. And it looks interesting to Fox, saying, All right, we'll be able to promote it on Fox, and it just looks good. Same thing with the whole Mayweather thing. They could just be in cahoots. Mayweather might not be planning on fighting at all, but he could be in cahoots with Dana, who's paying him under the table to just do this stupid walk inside of a freaking cage at the local Syndicate MMA. And here's $20,000, $100,000. Fox looked at that, and it's interesting. Could be complete bullshit, but negotiation deals. The Vegas genius of Dana White. Just a picture. But to me, I do want to see Brock Lesnar return. We were just talking about John Bones Jones. If all goes as planned, will John Bones Jones fight in 2018 against Brock Lesnar? That's the fight I was really interested in. That's like the only thing I can really think about with Brock Lesnar right now. But a fight with Curtis Blades or somebody, that would be pretty. I would be pretty interested in that as well. What do you guys think about this? What did you take away from Brock Lesnar and Dana White's cryptic tweet? And let me a big shout out to whoever out there photoshopped a photo of this with Dana's head on Brock's body and Brock's head on Dana's body. I was rolling around, cracking up in my living room, tweeting out to all my MMA followers on Twitter. Absolutely genius. But take this picture for what it is. Dana White and Brock Lesnar, I mean, doesn't mean he's returning. Doesn't mean anything, really. Let me know what you guys thought about this on Twitter, evil_echo. All right, so moving forward, I do not want to piss anybody off. I do not want to spend too much time on this. But more WWE news on the way here with Ronda Rousey. And like I said, if it was anybody else, we really wouldn't spend any time on this. But here's the good thing. There's always a bright side to it all. And for the diehard fans out there that really don't care about WWE or watch it, like me for one, I don't watch it. But I can thank my roots of MMA to WWE, WWF at the time when I was growing up. Matter of fact, I did my first interview ever live on air when I was 7 or 8 years old with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Live on air. So I can thank WWE for my podcasting career, my broadcasting career, the reason why I went to broadcasting school. The drive I have behind the love for combat sports came from WWE and following that storyline. And if you're a big fan of this podcast and you know what I'm going to say about Ronda Rousey and why I believe she's taken this path, maybe she's trying to find that spark again, that true inspiration. If you tuned in this week to watch Ronda or just saw the clip, you could see the smile back on Ronda's face. I loved seeing that. I'm a big Ronda fan. Now, I'll say this again. I don't want to see her spend too much time in the WWE if she is planning on coming back to MMA. And if she does come back to MMA, who's she going to fight? That's a whole different discussion for a different podcast. But for right now, where things are at, things are looking good. And if you missed it this week, here's what happened. Ronda Rousey comes out for WWE. I think this is like the second time now, the third time. Signs her contract and then choke slams Triple H through a table. You had the crowd in the background chanting Ronda Rousey. It was just a good moment and a feel-good moment for Ronda Rousey. You had some UFC fighters there supporting her, like DC, Kane. You had a bunch of guys there to support her, Travis Brown. And it's a pathway that has been paved before in the past by people like Ken Shamrock. Now, here's my connection here, why I'm bringing Ken Shamrock in. In studio, I still have my Ken Shamrock WWE doll. Now, keep in mind, UFC, MMA is a very new sport. UFC still is a new brand to a lot of people, young or old. But the young kids that are watching WWE, they see Ronda Rousey, they don't know what MMA is. It sparks interest, sparks a lot of interest. And then you have UFC on a platform like Fox, which a lot of families have Fox on their cable provider. Interest to tune in and check it out. And this is why I kind of push back to people that are like, oh, CM Punk's on the card, that's bullshit, or fighters getting mad. I understand that. But if you are a fighter on a card that CM Punk is on, you should be happy because there are a lot of young eyes on you, possibly new to the sport. You could be their new favorite fighter. You say the right thing on the mic, you go in there and you do have an amazing performance. You could be somebody's new favorite fighter. That's what counts. That's what matters. And Ronda Rousey is doing our sport a favor, and I might get so many people that are mad and might even quote me on this, but Ronda Rousey is doing our sport a favor by going over to WWE to bring a new generation of eyes over to our sport. Now, you might be sick of seeing Ronda Rousey on your MMA apps when you're going to search for the news. You don't want to know anything that's going on in the WWE world, and I understand that. But at the same time, I'm happy for Ronda Rousey. And hopefully she will be returning to the MMA. She will be returning to UFC. She's still on the ranking somehow, ranked number 9, believe it or not. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? She might just still be on the rankings because, I don't know if she's still under a contract, but still a negotiation deal. Still out there. And I still like this WWE UFC thing going back and forth. Let's not forget, going backwards, Conor McGregor was beefing with a couple of WWE guys in the past before, like Roman Reigns. It's kind of fun when you're younger. For the diehard fans out there, it's just BS. But at the same time, it's doing its role for the younger generations out there. You have to keep that in mind. You have to remember that. So salute to Ronda Rousey on her journey here. My question to you guys is, are you interested more now to watch Ronda in WWE to see what she's going to do? Or is it just like whatever to you? Because to me, it's whatever. Maybe if I was scrolling through and it was on, I'd tune in. But I don't know where I really stand on this. I'm just happy that she's happy. That's really it. And hopefully she'll return. That's all I have to say about this. Let me know what you guys think about this on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. Also, I posted the clips up on the Instagram page at Pure Evil MMA. Check it out. All right, guys, really quick, before we go into our next segment, which is UFC 222 preview, I want to give a quick shout out to our members of the week for Pure Evil MMA.
The Pure Evil MMA army is taking over, uniting fans, followers, MMA fighters and elite evil family contributors from all over the world. And this is a call to all MMA fans. Your opinions count and we want to hear from you. Use hashtag PureEvilMMA on Twitter or leave a comment on any video or article on the Facebook page or YouTube channel. Find your voice and come join the ranks of the Pure Evil MMA army. Like these soldiers of the week, ready to receive a shout-out salute from Evil Eddie himself.
Thank you, Minion. So this week, our shout-out goes to Leslie, Barry, and Shelly for being the most engaging members for Pure Evil MMA. Thank you guys so much. I've been seeing the merch pictures. I've been seeing everybody retweeting, and it means so much here at Pure Evil MMA. So you guys are our members of the week. And if you want to follow them and you're listening at home, you can follow Leslie at Jenkinson. Leslie, that's JenkinsonLeslie. You can follow Barry at Barry Mayo Ross and Shelly at MSG_SB. Congratulations, guys, and good luck next week. So before we preview UFC 222, congratulations to our members of the week. Congratulations to our Pickem Winners as well. And once again, guys, teespring.com/pureevilmerch. It's only good for the next week, or I think like 10 more days. And then we're going to start a new, some new styles that I've been working on for some shirts. But right now we got the merch going. So you can check it out, teespring.com/pureevilmerch. We got t-shirts, hoodies. We got coffee cups. We got stickers for $4. Everybody can afford something at teespring.com/pureevilmerch. All right, so let's get into UFC 222. We got Chris Cyborg going up against Qucik. Let's jump right into it. All right, so my immediate reaction when I heard about this headline, like, we're coming off the Holly Holm fight from just, a couple of weeks ago, a month or two ago. She fought Holly Holm, and leading up to that was a big fight. There were a lot of people out there wondering if Chris Cyborg was going to be GOAT if she beat Holly Holm. I mean, let's not forget, Holly Holm had the same thing going on for her. If she beat Chris Cyborg, she would be GOAT. If Chris Cyborg beat Holly Holm, she was going to be GOAT. I think it meant a little more for Holly Holm, though, than Cyborg, because there still are unanswered questions when it comes to Cyborg for me. And my immediate reaction to this, when I found out she was going to be fighting Qucik, I was like, this just seems like she's trying to rack up title defenses. Because really, who knows Qucik? Unless you're a die-hard MMA fan, so much so that you watch Invicta FC on UFC Fight Pass app, you're not going to know who this girl is. You're not going to remember her from the Tanya Evinger fights. You're not going to remember this girl whatsoever. And now she's making her UFC debut. I'll give her this though. She was originally planning on making her debut for this weight division, but wasn't planning on fighting Cris Cyborg. This is something that came in last second, and she, like Eminem says, you got to seize the moment when it appears to you. You only get one shot. Don't miss your chance to blow, right? This is her shot, and if she can take Cris Cyborg in a fight where nobody's expecting her, I think she's like the odds. We're gonna get into the odds in just a second here. Matter of fact, let me go check the odds on this fight because it's got to be pretty brutal. It's probably very close to when Holly Holm fought Ronda Rousey. Also, a very quick reminder, Bellator 195 is also going down Friday night, so you guys don't want to miss that. It's going down in, I believe, Oklahoma. All right, so Qucik is a plus 800 underdog, and then you got Cris Cyborg at negative 1400, huge favorite, which is absolutely crazy if Qucik can go in there and get a win over Cris Cyborg, blow a lot of people's minds, even more so than when Holly Holm. I mean, Holly Holm's win in comparison, if something like that were to replay itself, wouldn't be on the same level. I mean, Ronda Rousey, for what she stood for and how many people were behind her, she was a pioneer for women's MMA in the UFC. You had my mom talking about her while she was cleaning dishes, asking me about her because she saw her on Ellen or whatever show she saw her on. It's not the same kind of level. I mean, if Qucik goes in there and finishes Cris Cyborg, of course, I'm going to be shocked. The people at home are going to be shocked. But there's not really anyone out there that is on the Cyborg train, so to say. And Qucik, even though she's more of an unknown than Holly Holm was at the time, because Holly Holm, leading up to that Ronda Rousey fight, she didn't have any standout performances where she was getting girls with head kicks like she did with Betch Kohea later on. Ronda Rousey really was the first kind in her UFC run. I'm not saying that her early on career went knockouts, but in her UFC run, Holly Holm was getting decision after decision after decision leading up to the Ronda Rousey fight. And at the time, I was shocked because Ronda Rousey just beat Betch Kohea weeks before, and then they announced that fight. So it's kind of the same thing here with Cyborg Qucik. Kind of what it reminds me of. Seemed like Ronda Rousey was trying to stack up her title defenses. In this case, it seems like Cris Cyborg is trying to do the same. Stack up her title defenses. Watch out. Watch out for that. And then you ask people like Tanya Evinger about this, and of course she's going to say Qucik doesn't have a chance, but Qucik caught her in a fight. They ran the fight back, and Qucik lost, but Qucik, she's tricky. You don't want to underestimate this girl. Don't want to make any mistakes. So let's take a look at her record here. For those of you guys out there that don't know who she is, she's 10-3. She has one fight win under her belt from Invicta just 6 months ago. But before that is the loss in the rematch to Tanya Evinger, which ended by submission. That was less than a year ago. Before that, it was a fight that was revoked in her win against Tanya Evinger, where she won via submission armbar. So that fight actually doesn't even count. Before that, she beat Yanin Wu a year and 5 months ago. And before that, she lost to Zaria Daishakova at ACB 1 year and 11 months ago. So this is a huge challenge for Yana Qucik to step up and beat Cris Cyborg. And via Tapology, only 3% of pick'ems are going for Qucik. She's the same height as Cris Cyborg. She's a little younger, though. She's 4 years younger, 28 years old. This is a big fight for her to go 5 rounds too, which Cris Cyborg recently showed us she can do. I mean, recently we've been seeing a different side of Cris Cyborg where coming into UFC, we were all expecting, relying on her to go in there and just squash her opponents. Tanya Evinger did a great job going a couple rounds with her, a lot more than a lot of other girls did in the past. But along the way, Chris Cyborg is not fighting any top name opponents. I would love to see Chris Cyborg go up against Jermaine Durandamy. That's the fight that I want to see. I want to see Chris Cyborg go up against Amanda Nunes. That's where I thought they were heading after the Holly Holm fight. But here it just seems like they're trying to rack up title defenses, and I love seeing what Chris Cyborg is doing backstage. I'm happy that she's now at 145 pounds. She's not dying to make weight. I love it, but I really think that UFC needs to build that division more. They're rushing fights in with her, and they don't even have UFC fight kits for Chris Cyborg yet. What's going on? What's going on? On this fight, though, guys, clearly I'm going to say I'm going for Chris Cyborg on this. If I'm going on DraftKings, I'm guessing that she's probably going to be the most expensive fighter on there. And that's something else that you guys can look forward to. I recently just opened up a DraftKings account. So I'm going to be doing my picks, and I will be sharing them on my social media account for you guys out there that do DraftKings. So I had a couple people reach out asking me to do something like that. So at the end of this, I'm going to give you guys my quick picks. So you can check out the Pure Evil MMA quick picks at the end of this segment. And I'm going to be chopping this show up for people on YouTube as well. If you want to just check out just certain news segments, or just UFC 222. You can check it out on YouTube. So if you guys are listening on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and you want to go check out the video cast, go right ahead. We're going to have everything chopped up for you if you just want to see the UFC 222 or some of our next events. And you just want to see the breakdown. We're going to do that for you. But on this one, Chris Cyborg, I'm going to go with a knockout in the first or second round. But we've been really seeing a more patient Chris Cyborg as of late. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that. All right, in our co-main event, we got Frankie Edgar, the answer, going up against Brian Ortega, T-City. I'm looking forward to this fight. And for those of you guys out there that don't know, Frankie Edgar was originally supposed to be matched up with Max Holloway in the title fight for the featherweight division. Unfortunately, that fight fell through as Max Holloway was injured. So moving forward, Brian Ortega steps up to fight Frankie Edgar. Now, what makes me a little nervous about this is Frankie Edgar is right there in line for the title shot. It's right there. And you got somebody like Brian Ortega who has been slowly on the rise. I mean, he's been in the UFC for, I believe, 3 or 4 years now, but completely under the radar. As of the last 2 years is when I've been really starting to pay attention to him. But for most people out there, they don't really know who Brian Ortega is, maybe until the last fight against Cub Swanson, where he chokes Cub out in the second. This is a very dangerous fight for Frankie Edgar, especially since he's right there, like I just said. Brian Ortega, he is not the guy who's going to go in there and stand up and get a knockout. He's the guy that's going to go in there and get the submission, and he doesn't care. He'll stand there and he'll box you the entire time. He'll get pieced up by you the entire time, but in a split second, you make one mistake, he's going to snap down on you and get that submission. Frankie Edgar, he's just so active. He's so light on his feet, and we've seen what's happened to prospects that have been on the rise. Look at Yair Rodriguez when he was recently matched up against Frankie Edgar. I'll never forget Frankie Edgar versus Chad Mendes not too long ago. I think it was 2016, 2016 International Fight Week. Frankie Edgar goes in there against Chad Mendes. Now, the talk on Twitter, the talk in the fight media world was that if Frankie Edgar was going to win this fight, it was going to be by decision. That's what we were prone to knowing Frankie Edgar to win by. Kid goes out there and gets a knockout of Chad Mendes in the first round in the opening minute. Frankie Edgar is no joke, next level, but he does struggle come Jose Aldo. I was interested to see what was going to happen in this fight against Max Holloway. That was the fight I was really excited to see, and it falls through, and you have a lot of risk here if you're Frankie Edgar. But on the other hand, T-City, he's not going to say no to this. And the one thing I love about Brian Ortega is that he has respect for the sport, where he's not going out there and calling out title shots. He's not going out there and saying, oh, Max, you dropped out. Well, let me get this fight. He's not doing that. This fight offered itself, and he took it. He's even said before in the past, he's not in a rush to run for the title shot. He's not in any sort of rush. And to me, he still needs to build. I've seen holes in Brian Ortega's game. I'm not a coach. I'm not an MMA coach at all. But he has issues on the feet with his opponents in the past. He's gotten pieced up by somebody like Marciano. He's going to have a huge issue with somebody like Frankie Edgar. There's something to think about for Brian Ortega. How much of a setback is this going to be for him? Or is it going to be a learning experience? I mean, Brian Ortega's never lost a fight. He's never lost a fight. In his last couple of fights before the Cub Swanson win, what you would see in an Ortega fight is him go in there, get outboxed in the first 2 rounds, and then somehow in the last seconds of the 3rd round, somehow get the win. He pulls it out. Look at the fight that he had against Clay Guida. Clay Guida went in there, kind of a similar style to Frankie Edgar. Very quick, late on the feet, bouncing around. Good wrestling. But Clay got greedy at the end of the fight. Thought it would be smart to trade. And he gets caught by T-City. What happens in the Marciano fight? Marciano goes out there, starts boxing with Ortega, is winning every round, even winning the 3rd round. And for some reason, goes for a takedown on Brian Ortega with like a minute left in the fight. And gets finished. Then they give Brian Ortega Cub Swanson. And that is his most notable win to date. And now he's deserving to fight Frankie Edgar. If he loses to Frankie Edgar, it's not much of a setback. Like I say, you're not losing brownie points on a loss to Frankie Edgar on a short notice fight. That's another thing. It's a short notice fight. Who do you guys got here? I mean, Frankie Edgar, man. He's the answer. I'm going with Frankie to win this fight, but I am nervous. I will be at the edge of my seat throughout this entire fight. I'm going with Frankie to win this via decision. Also on this fight card, you got Sean O'Malley making his return. Might be a little soon, but the sooner the better, honestly, in this case, because you want to keep him relevant. You want to keep him in the public eye. You got Sean Sugar O'Malley. If you missed his debut on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, you have probably saw it on Twitter somewhere, or at least pictures of him smoking with Snoop Dogg backstage. Now, Sean O'Malley, I don't know how much weed you should really be smoking when you're getting ready for somebody like Andrei Sukumov. Sean Sugar O'Malley, who's 9-0 right now, making a huge splash in the UFC. And his last performance, it was so-so, but it was everything I expected on the UFC level that Sean O'Malley could do without trying to put on a show. You know, and that's what I'm going to say here. I'm going to say the same thing. Don't be the show in this. Don't go out there and be the stoner who does the spinning shit. Don't do that, because Andrei Sukumov is not the guy to play along with you. He's going to go in there. He needs to finish. He's got his back up against the wall. I don't want to see Sean O'Malley in there with his arms down, whether he's saying that he's tired that he does that or he's doing it to show off. You have to be careful at this level when you have the wave of momentum building up behind you, because once you get a loss in the UFC, that wave is going to be twice as hard to gain back up. That mystery about you is going to be harder to make people believe in again. I'm telling you right now, I want Sugar Shane O'Malley to win. I'm a big fan of I love what he's doing. I'm definitely behind him. But be careful, man. I mean, you're doing the right things on press week. I've been peeping him on press week, showing up dressed up like swagged out, looking good on press row, doing the interviews, 70s style. Don't make a mistake. Don't go out there with your hands down in this one. You got Andrei Sukumov, who's 12-5. In his last 5 fights, he's won 3 and lost 2. The Vegas odds are giving Sean O'Malley a plus 110 near even favorite. And it looks like people on Tapology, 77% of you guys are going with Sugar Shane O'Malley to win this one. But Andrei Sukumov, man, he's training over with the Black Zillions, or what is the Black Zillions now. And you got Sean O'Malley at the MMA lab training with people like Benson Henderson, Lauren Murphy. Andrei Sukumov's last fight, if you guys don't remember, just 8 weeks ago against Luke Sanders, where he won via TKO in a brutal fight. Sean O'Malley beating Terrion Ware 3 months ago, but that was also by decision. So you got to keep that in mind. Sean O'Malley is probably looking for an exciting finish once again, like he had on the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. And I'll give you this, in the 3rd round of his last fight, he looked absolutely exhausted. So I hope that his cardio is up a little better than his last run around, because it's going to pay the price here. telling you. So as much as I am in favor of Sugar Shane O'Malley to get the win, I really want him to. It would be a real upset to me if he does lose in this fight. But Andre Sukumath, I think he can get this one done. So I think that's where I'm going to be leaning here. But I would love for Sugar to win this. I really would. But I'm going to tell you guys right now my pick. This is serious because I'm taking this very seriously for my quick picks. I'm going with Andre Sukumath to win this in the 3rd round via TKO. Or it's going to be submission. But I'm going to put in on my Pickem TKO 3rd round Andre Sukumath. And I really hope that doesn't happen. That's what my head's telling me. That's what is playing out in my head. I always like to see the walkouts, the weigh-ins and all that to see where their heads are at. The embedded, if you guys keep up with the embedded, you can see where their heads are at. What I'm seeing, I love what I'm seeing out of Sean O'Malley, but at the same time, I'm a little worried about his cardio, and that's why I'm making the 3rd round TKO pick for Andre Sukumath to get this one done. Also, another fight where you got fighters with their back up against the wall, where you got Andrei Arlovski going in there against Stefan Struve. And Stefan Struve, man, matters where you're tuning in here. I mean, his last couple of fights, he's been hot and cold. But that win over Bigfoot in 11 seconds, I mean, once he had that win, there was so much momentum building up behind him. Once again, like the 3rd win in his career. I mean, Struve's been a part of the UFC since like 2009. He's pre-UFC 100. I mean, and the guy's only 30 years old. I believe he just turned 30 years old. But what was my point there? I mean, Stefan Struve, he has his back up against the wall here. So does Arlovski. Andrei Arlovski with a record of 26-15. You got Struve, who's ranked 10th right now, a little above Arlovski, who's currently ranked 12th, with a 32-9 record. But if we look back at Andrei Arlovski's last 5 fights, he's only won 1 fight against Junior Albini, if you guys remember the baby diaper that Albini was rocking that night. And this has happened a couple times throughout Arlovski's career, where it's taken somebody like an Albini or a Brendan Schaub to really kick him back into place. And it's not like he's training at the wrong gym, or like, you don't know what's going on with these guys. When you're in this heavyweight division, the wear and tear that goes through your body is brutal. I would love to see Arlovski get the build-up back once again, get a couple of TKO wins, and he can do that this weekend against Stefan Struve. And if you look at Stefan Struve, like I said, he's been hot and cold. His last 5 fights, he's won 3, lost 2, but he's coming off a loss to Alexander Volkov. That was 6 months ago. Before that, he had 2 wins string together against Daniel Emelianenchuk and Antonio Silva. The Bigfoot win of just like 11 seconds. But you also have to keep in mind that Struve has complications of his heart. That makes me a little worried here. I am going with Andrei Arlovski to win this one via TKO round 1. That's my prediction. Unfortunately, if Arlovski doesn't win this fight, I don't think the UFC is going to be inviting him back. Struve, on the other hand, it's another tough one. He might be Bellator bound. He's still young, but he's been in the game for so long. Has fought the who's who in this division. He's really serving a purpose as a gatekeeper. And now, I said this on Twitter earlier this week. So many people out there get alarmed when they hear that word gatekeeper. They tend to think it's a bad thing. Being a gatekeeper is not a bad thing at all. Look at people like Michael Bisping, who was called a gatekeeper for years and years and years. It's not necessarily a rag on anybody. I mean, you have so many young up-and-comers every year that are trying to make their way to the top. And if they can't get past somebody like a Jim Miller, they can't get past somebody like a Michael Bisping, they can't get past somebody like a Stefan Struve, then they're not title quality. They serve their purpose. It's not a bad thing. Now, if you're looking at Stefan Struve and going, could he ever be champion? In the next couple of years, if we look 3 years in the future, could we see Stefan Struve be champion? No. But look at Michael Bisping. No one ever thought Michael Bisping would be champion. Look at Matt Serra. No one ever thought Matt Serra was going to be champion. Give him a break. Anything can happen in this game. But at this point right now, Stefan Struve really is only serving as a gatekeeper. Andrei Arlovski, man, having a really hard time. It'd be nice if he can get another win under his belt. A 2-fight win streak. Smack himself out of that loss. The loss pool that he was gathering. That he was lounging in. That's my call. Arlovski, round 1, TKO finish over Stefan Struve. And then finally we have the return of Cat Zingano. And I am so excited to see this fight. I've always been such a huge fan of Cat Zingano. What she's been able to do, everything that she's been through. If you're not familiar with Cat Zingano, go get UFC Fight Pass and go watch Cat Zingano's fightography. One of my childhood friends actually put that together. One of my real childhood friends, like from back in middle school and high school. And he works for the UFC now, and he works putting these things together. He did the fightography for Dan Severn, talking about the tournaments. He did all that. So go check out Cat Zingano's fightography, because you'll get a real good sense of who Cat Zingano is, what she stands for, and what she's capable of doing as an inspiration for females in the sports game. But she has a tough one in front of her with Ketlen Vera, who's ranked currently at number 5. Cat Zingano is ranked 6. Cat Zingano ranked 6, but she got a 9-2 record. Those 2 losses are her last 2 fights. Ketlen Vera is undefeated with a 9-0 record. But Cat Zingano has also a win over the current champ Amanda Nunes by TKO finish, ground and pound. Now you could say that was almost a little over 3 years ago. But Cat Zingano's last fight was almost 2 years ago. She's been out of the game for a little while, for reasons I'm not going to talk about. But if you go all the way back, her last 5 fights, she's 3-2. Won 3, lost 2. And we'll stretch back all the way back to 5 years and 4 months ago with a win over Raquel Pennington, a young Raquel Pennington, via rear naked choke back in the Invicta days. Then she made her UFC debut and beats Miesha Tate via TKO. Then she beats Amanda Nunes via TKO. And then we all remember what happens next. She gets her fight with Ronda Rousey, who is currently at the time 10-0, and loses via submission armbar. Now that fight lasted a matter of seconds, and it was already 3 years ago that fight went down. Now Cat Zingano has had her struggles since then. She's also had another fight since then against Juliana Pena, and she also lost that fight via decision. Now, something that happens every time a fight goes past the first round with Cat Zingano is the cat really comes out. Things really turn up. Cat Zingano, like I said, her last fight being almost 2 years ago, she might need to be snapped out of it. Ketlen Vera might need to go in there and smack her out of it before we really see the real Cat Zingano kick into gear. So, do you believe in ring rust is the question here. That's a question that's going to come up right here. I mean, 2 years really isn't that long out. But at the same time, fighter to fighter, it's different. Case to case, it's different. You look at somebody like Dominic Cruz, who was gone for 2-3 years, comes back and is able to beat TJ Dillashaw, who was very active at the time. You have people like the Korean Zombie coming back from serving, knocks out Dennis Bermudez in the first round. That 2 years gone. So you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to call. I just saw a guy at CES who was away for 7 years. 7 years this guy was away. He was in the Army. He was a veteran for 5 years. Came back 2 years getting ready to enter in MMA once again. And was in there and it looked like he was so active. Going there looked like GSP doing Superman punches. One of my fight of the nights. And he had very powerful post-fight speech, but that's besides the point. I'm not one that really believes in ring rust. Cat Zingano, I do believe every fight she has, she needs to get smacked around in the first round to really snap out of it. A little worried about that here. Ketlen Vera could win this by decision, yeah. But I'm going to go with Cat Zingano to win. Third round submission. All right, so that does it for the main card. That is going to be going down on pay-per-view. But there's also a really pretty decent prelim card that I'm going to quickly run down for you guys right here. So we also got Mackenzie Dern going up against Ashley Yoder. Now, Mackenzie Dern is making her UFC debut. That's a pretty big deal. And she's going up against Ashley Yoder, who's currently on a 2-fight losing streak, but she does have her last win being 1 year, 3 months ago over Amber Brown. But out of her last 5 fights, she's only won 2 of those and lost 3. So this is, I guess, a proper introduction to the UFC for Mackenzie Dern. I mean, Ashley Yoder, her last loss was to Angela Hill. That was 7 months ago, and that went via decision. But the odds for this fight is absolutely brutal. You got Mackenzie Dern as a plus 420 favorite, and Ashley Yoder plus 375. Now, Ashley Yoder, I mean, I was a big fan of her on The Ultimate Fighter. She has a shot to win this fight. I mean, she's a pretty well-rounded fighter. But 96% of people on Tapology are also going with Mackenzie Dern. So let's look back at Mackenzie Dern's last 5 fights. 2 months ago, she has a win over Colleen Medeiros via submission armbar. Now, Colleen Medeiros is also very close friends with Amanda Nunes, trains alongside them. I don't know if she trains at American Top Team with Amanda. I'm assuming so. I interviewed her 2 years ago. But Colleen Medeiros, she's another girl that tried to fight for the title, didn't win, but she's tough competition. So that was Mackenzie Dern's last fight where she won via submission armbar. Before that, 4 months ago, she had a win over Mandy Polk via submission rear naked choke in LFA. Before that, she has a win 11 months ago over Kathleen Roy via decision. 1 year, 4 months ago, she has a win over Montana De La Rosa, who's just on this current season Ultimate Fighter. She beat her via rear naked choke, omoplata. And before that, she has a win 1 year and 7 months ago over Kina Rosas via decision. So finally, she's making her UFC debut over from Invicta. I'm looking forward to this fight. Ashley Yoder is tough competition, though. You cannot count this girl out. And the way that the odds are set up here, I don't know. I might be called crazy for this, but I'm going with Ashley Yoder to win this. I think Mackenzie Dern is probably going to have a hard weight cut. And Ashley Yoder being very well-rounded on a 2-fight losing streak with her back up against the wall. I say this all the time. When there's fighters with their backs up against the wall, it is a scary... There is nothing scarier than a fighter with their back up against the wall. In this position in the UFC, you're fighting for your life at this point. And as far as I remember with Ashley Yoder from The Ultimate Fighter, I believe she has a little girl. I believe she lost her boyfriend in a car accident or something like that. Like, I believe it's Ashley Yoder because something rang with her that I could relate to. So I don't know. I don't want to be biased here. And there's a lot of people who are going to be biased because they're Mackenzie Dern fans, but I'm giving you guys my honest opinion. I am going with Ashley Yoder to win this via decision. That's what I'm going for. Also on this card, you have Beneil Dariush, which they're giving us on the prelims. Now, Beneil Dariush, he is coming off a no contest fight against Evan Dunham, which was 4 months ago, which went to a majority decision. Before that, he had a loss to Edson Barboza. So the last time that he's won was 1 year and 3 months ago, believe it or not, against Mashid Magomedov. That was the last time Beneil Dariush has had a win. Now, he's also going into this fight as a favorite against Alexander Hernandez, who is on an absolute tear. I mean, the 8-1 record, his last 5 fights, he's won every single one. And the last fight he had for LFA, another LFA guy, he won via ground and pound. That was 3 months ago. But at the same time, they're not UFC caliber opponents, which is why he's a plus 345 moderate underdog going into this one. Beneil Dariush, this should be a hand-me fight. I don't want to give any slack on Alexander Hernandez because obviously he's a killer from Texas. But it's understandable why he's an underdog going into this fight. Beneil Dariush, man, he needs a win, and he needs a win bad. Only 10% of fans on Tapology are going for Hernandez. 90% of you guys out there are going with Dariush to win. On this one, I'm going to go with Dariush to win as well. Most likely a decision I'm going to go with. 3-round fight. Then we got John Dodson versus Pedro Munoz. Now, Dodson, he's been hot and cold, hot and cold. I've been liking what he has been doing at this weight division. I really enjoyed that he was jumping up because, let's face it, he wasn't going to be able to really do much since he already had a couple of fights with the champion, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. But since then, he's been hot and cold. His last 5 fights, he's won 2 and lost 3. It's literally been win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Going into this fight, though, against Pedro Munoz, he is a negative 165 slight favorite. But Munoz, man, he's on a 4-fight winning streak right now. His last loss was a little over 2 years ago against Jimmy Rivera, understandably. His last win being against Rob Font 4 months ago via submission guillotine choke. This is a very tough fight for John Dodson. And man, he needs to win. I mean, he's coming off a loss here. My quick pick for this one, though, I'm going with John Dodson to win this via TKO, round 1. Hector Lombard going up against CB Dalloway, also on this card for the prelims. And if you look at Hector Lombard, man, his last 5 fights, he's 0-5. I mean, man, growing up, I remember Hector Lombard was the man. And now he's struggling here in the UFC. CB Dalloway coming off a win recently against Ed Herman. But really, his last 5 fights, he's 2-3. 1-2, lost 3. And this is a very close fight for the Vegas odds. I mean, Vegas odds has negative 125 for Hector Lombard and a plus 105 for CB Dalloway here. I'm going with Hector Lombard on this one. I think he's going to be able to get it done probably in the first round. If not, could stretch out to a decision win, which we see a lot in fights with CB Dalloway. So, quick pick, Hector Lombard, round 2, TKO. 52% of you guys on Tapology, though, are going for CB Dalloway, 48% with Hector Lombard. Also, we got Mike Pyle versus Zach Otto on the card here. And going into this, man, I mean, Mike Pyle on a 2-fight losing streak. His last loss against Alex Garcia 1 year and 2 months ago. It's been a minute for Mike Pyle. And Zach Otto, man, he's coming off a loss himself. I don't know. Vegas odds has negative 320 moderate favorite for Zach Otto and a plus 260 moderate underdog for Mike Pyle. I'm going with Zach Otto to get the win here via decision. Topology has 70% of you guys going with Otto and 30% of you going with Mike Pyle. Brian Caraway coming from out of the bushes. And let me give a quick shout out to Brian Caraway. I mean, it is such a tough thing for anyone, whether you're a fighter, a businessman, a lawyer, a teacher, an everyday guy. If you're going through a breakup, let alone at this high caliber where it's all over social media, all over TMZ, you can't get away from it. It's such a big part of your life. You're in movies with this girl, and now you're seeing that she's gotten pregnant from somebody else in the MMA scene that you know. I mean, Johnny Nunez, obviously, if you guys out there didn't know who Miesha Tate is pregnant with. Johnny Nunez from season of 22 of The Ultimate Fighter. And recently, he was just on the Redemption season, I believe, where he was also brought back during the Redemption season and wasn't able to get the win. But Johnny Nunez on that season, you could see flirting with Miesha Tate. Now, I mean, Brian Caraway has to be taking that hard. I mean, he was really known as Mrs. Tate. So you can look at it 2 ways. I mean, I don't know where Brian Caraway is at mentally, but hopefully he's looking at it like, I can get past this now. That's in my past. Let's move forward. Or else it's just going to really hurt him, because my heart goes out to Brian Caraway here. Because the fans, let's be honest, aren't that nice to Brian Caraway. Like I said, at fights, people are always chanting Mrs. Tate at him. That's just what he was known for. So hopefully he can go in a new direction and really staple himself as more than just Miesha Tate's ex-boyfriend at this point. And I mean, he can do it, man. He's got 2 wins under his belt right now. He's got a win over Eddie Wineland and that last win over Aljamain Sterling, which no one saw coming. But that was almost 2 years ago now at this point. And he's going up against Cody Stamann, who is 16-1. This is a very exciting fight, and Brian Caraway has his hands full. 43% of you guys on Tapology are going with Caraway. 57% of you guys are going with Josh Stamann. And I see this fight going to a decision, honestly. And who is it going towards? I'm favoring Cody Stamann. I mean, like I said, I don't know where Brian Caraway's head is at. I would love to see him get a win, considering everything that he's going through, but also considering everything that he's going through. And if that was me, I'd be struggling. My head wouldn't be able to fully wrap around the fight game. but that's me. I'm not Brian Caraway. I've also interviewed fighters going through the same thing, maybe not on the same level as Brian Caraway, who's ex-girlfriend to Misha Tate and is pregnant all over social media and TMZ, but you have to remember, you have to keep those in mind when making these predictions. And with all the steam that's going up behind Cody Stamann right now, man, that's where my head's at. I'm going with Cody Stamann winning via decision. If you have a different opinion, let me know on Twitter at evil_echo. And also, guys, like I do every week, UFC Pickem. That's where the fun is at for Pure Evil MMA. If you listen to the podcast and you want to get in on the UFC Pickem, all you got to do is message me. That's it. Message me on Twitter at evil_echo. I'll give you the link. It's all through UFC.com. It's official. And it's fun. And our last fight on this card is Jordan Johnson going up against Adam Milstead. Now, Adam Milstead, 8-1 record. Jordan Johnson, 8-0 record. And they are going to be starting off the prelims. I'm going with Johnson on this one. I've been loving what I've been seeing from him. His last fight went to unanimous decision with Marcel Fortuna. Before that, getting a decision over Luis Henrique da Silva. On the other side, Adam Milstead, his last fight that he's won against Chris Del Roca via TKO. Before that, Rob Morrow via TKO. I'm taking Adam Milstead on this one. Not many fight fans are. I'm going Adam Milstead TKO round 1. Only 19% of you guys out there think Milstead is going to win this fight on Tapology. And 81% of you guys are going with Johnson. We'll see what happens come Saturday night for UFC 222. Are you guys going to dish out the $60 for this pay-per-view? Is it worth it? I hope I convince you that it's more than just Cyborg going up against a fighter that you don't really know. And let's be honest, if this girl wins, is it up there with the Holly Holm status? She will be the champion. She will be and new. But will it be Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm's style, status? For what it stands for, this girl is coming out of nowhere. And if she can get an amazing performance win, I'll tell you this, Chris Cyborg goes out there and looks out of place like Ronda looks out of place, maybe then I'll be like, holy shit, but there will be nothing ever that can repeat the shock that I had watching Holly Holm knock out Ronda Rousey, or Chris Weidman knocking out Anderson Silva after the run Anderson Silva was on. Not once, but twice. The roof blew off for Buffalo Wild Wings that night. Chris Weidman beat Anderson Silva. Never forget that. Could we see the same moment go down in replay with Qucik, Cyborg? We'll find out this weekend. Let me know what your predictions are on Twitter, and make sure you're following me on Instagram at Pure Evil MMA, and you can get all the latest MMA updates at mymmanews.com. And you can get all the results that night as well at mymmanews.com. I'll be giving the live results. I'll also be live tweeting. So make sure you guys are following me on social media. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Pure Evil MMA. Let me know what you thought about all this crazy news this week with John Bones Jones back at it. I mean, Brock Lesnar in the shadows. That's the fight I wanted to see. Who knows what's going to happen? There could be some strings that are going to be pulled. Let's not forget, UFC pays you some. I'm not saying they should do some dirty stuff, but maybe where UFC is at right now, UFC should be putting down that hammer saying, listen, we pay you. Don't be that hard on John Bones Jones. Is he going to get a 4-year suspension? Is he going to get a 2-year suspension? What's going to happen? Let me know what you guys think on Twitter at evil_echo and on Instagram at Pure Evil MMA. Let me know what you think about Brock Lesnar. Let me know what you think about Ronda Rousey debuting in the WWE. What is the direction they're going to head there? Do you like what is going on there? Let me know on Twitter. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in once again. Make sure you order your stuff teespring.com/pureevil merch for their new campaign. There's only about 10 days left to get your hands on some of the latest Pure Evil MMA street gear. Guys, have fun this weekend. And thanks for tuning in to Pure Evil MMA. Behave yourself.